Ok, pero basta que no. Estoy para compartir. A ver si lo hago con el ordenador, si quiero, pero el que no sé por qué no te da.
Welcome, everyone. I'm going to wait just a couple more minutes, looking at the number of participants versus the number of registered. We expect a couple more people, I guess. Seems like there are still people joining, right?
Yeah, we have two more people just joining. But if you would like to start in a few minutes, then yes.
Yeah. It seems to have quieted down. Oh, just as you say that. Okay, I suggest it's 2 minutes past 2. I suggest we start to be able to leverage most of the time. Welcome to this webinar for the launch of the FIDELIS network of repositories. My name is Jan Meyer. I work for a Norwegian organization, SIGT. I'm in charge of Pillar 2 of the FIDELIS project, which is about the network's governance and sustainability aspects. Who's controlling the slides? Could you move forward one, please? Yes. We have a nice agenda for you today. After the brief welcome, we'll hear more about the history and the introduction of FIDELIS. It was supposed to be presented by Ingrid Bjello. Unfortunately, she had a pressing private matter and cannot attend. So luckily, Marianne is going to take over that. Then we're going to hear about the benefits of the provisional FIDELIS network membership by Marianne, Mari, and Lawrence. And if our timing is correct, then we should have about half an hour to answer, hopefully, all your questions or listen carefully to your feedback. So I suggest that we just get started.
Thank you for the introduction, Jan and Anja, and welcome also everyone on my behalf. Stepping in for Ingrid Bjello here and sharing a bit with you about how we came to this session today with a very good audience, I think. A couple of years ago, some of the European projects, in particular FAIR, EOSC Nordic, and SHOCK, generic, focusing on the Nordic European countries and on the social sciences and humanities, had all been working with and for repositories to help them become stronger and better. And they wanted to continue those efforts and also to bundle them. There is some background, so thank you.
Yeah, we're monitoring that and muting where appropriate.
Thank you very much. And they planned to set up a workshop seeing what the interest would be in having or organizing a network of trustworthy digital repositories that would also enable the FAIR principles. So, and it was a very successful workshop. It was well attended with a very broad group of stakeholders from 90 initiatives. That was good. And after that workshop, they also started writing a position paper, but during the workshop already it was clear there was an interest in the network. There was some Mentimeter polling done, and 70% of the attendants were positive about that kind of network for trustworthy digital repositories, or TDRs for short. The rest was not sure at that time. And in another question about what such a network might aim at, you see a lot of the keywords that came up. That was open text, as you understand. Of course, about best practices and peer support, sharing knowledge. There was this idea of a common voice and advocacy, the notion of a community of practice, mutual support, and so on and so forth. So quite some inspiration for continuing after the workshop. A couple of representatives from the initiating projects and also from those attending the workshop started writing a working paper. You see here the authoring team. The input came from the repository community, and basically they described a vision of how a European network of these fair enabling TDRs could look like based on the needs and wishes that were expressed during that session, and what its most important functions could be. So based on the challenges and the functions that the network could fulfill and how it would look. Of course, it was published on Zenodo, but not only that, you see in the description that the paper was also used as input for a task force of the EOSC Association, the Task Force on Long-Term Digital Preservation, that ran at the time. It has been introduced there and also discussed and taken further. So in the simplified history was the working paper was endorsed by this task force. The task force, all those task forces also had a stake in suggesting what should be part of the next funding call. So in particular for the infra-EOSC call, this idea of a European TDR network was successfully suggested. It became part of the call, and it led to the funding of what is now the FIDELIS project that started this January, with still a couple of the same organizations and people running with it, but open to many more organizations and people. The basic information about the FIDELIS project is it's a 3-year project. We started in January, as I said. It is a coordination and support action led by CSC in Finland. We have more than 20 partners, and we have also very explicitly a sister project called EOSC Eden, which started at the same time. And I expect that some of you here in the room are familiar with EOSC Eden as well. We even joined forces to the extent that we have a joint web presence. In the name you see on screen, both projects' names are included. We try to work together where possible because we both focus on and work with repositories. You see here the slogan that we are advancing digital preservation and curation in Europe with the 2 projects and their partners. More specifically in FIDELIS, we work towards implementing the vision that was basically started in this workshop 3 years ago, with the aim to have at the end of this 3-year project a healthy, vibrant and self-sustaining network. Self-sustaining is a keyword. A network of TDRs, another keyword, that will foster a supportive open science environment, and that will also guarantee the fair data sharing into the future. And that's where the sustainability, of course, comes up beyond the end of the project. Welcome to those of you who just entered the session. We're now nearing the content part of FIDELIS, and then we'll shift to the network itself. There are basically 3 strands in the project. They're called pillars. You heard, if you joined early, that Jan introduced himself as the pillar lead. 3 pillars. One is to set up, operate this network. A second one, to foster harmonization and interoperability across repositories in the context of an EOSC federation of trustworthy digital repositories. And the third strand is the upskilling of repositories and expansion of the network through support and training. This is another way to visualize it. You see in total 5 pillars in the rows, 3 content pillars supported by project management and coordination on the one hand, and communication and outreach on the other hand. And we're in year 1, so we're now in this session very much working on this task of preparing and initiating a network of trustworthy digital repositories. It's not just about work packages and pillars and the administrative things you are probably all familiar with. It's very much about people. This is an image of the kickoff we had. And it is people we expect to join the network, but of course representing repositories. And I hope you will also experience this as a people project, and we'll take it from there. So moving on to the next item on the agenda, benefits. All good things come in threes, so that's why you will hear from Lawrence and Mari and me about benefits. And on this slide, you also see three benefits from my perspective, more from the overall side and the logistics side, if you can call it that. First, as was already introduced in this workshop 3 years ago, this notion of a network that could be a common voice for stakeholder advocacy and engagement, that will be part of this network to be. Of course, networks are about networking. There is a lot of knowledge to be shared. What we very much hope is that it will be a mixture of repositories that may be in relatively early stages on the fair and trustworthy journey, and others who are maybe more mature, have started earlier, and can share also part of their knowledge. So that together with this nice mixture, we will raise the level overall in the development of repositories. The network is now kickstarted by the FIDELIS project, but FIDELIS will not run the network. We will not come up with the contents and the activities and the sessions by ourselves. That is what we expect from the members. So it is about co-creation. You see on the slide the word provisional membership, and that is intentional. The network will develop and be developed with and by you. I hope many of you will join the network in practice after this session, together with FIDELIS team. But provisional, because part of what we will do in the project and with the network is discuss and at some point design a membership structure with possibly different tiers of membership, a sustainable business model. So what could be done and what needs to be done to make sure that this is not an ad hoc network for 2-3 years, but will actually have enough value for its membership to continue afterwards. And also to see where it can strengthen or complement rather other networks and organizations you may already be part of. So that's why it's called provisional for now. In the project plan, we say and we commit to having a real membership beginning in 2027, but for now it's provisional and free, I should say. It's not on the slide, but yeah, you don't have to pay a membership fee for the coming time. Third benefit, I think, it is also easy to join. We do not request a lot from you to join. I'll say a bit more about trust and fair. We will provide a lightweight secretariat to the network, and sorry. Apologies. You will have time by the end of next year to reconsider your your provisional network membership and see how you want to continue, and which of the resulting flavors of membership will fit you best. As I said, it is a people initiative and people sometimes have hiccups. We don't think the network will have those hiccups itself. What we said in the information shared in the invitation and the news items is that we expect aspiring members, provisional members, to endorse both the FAIR principles for data and the trust principles for repositories. These are domain independent. They are not very detailed, but we wanted to make sure that not every kind of organization.
I guess it's a bit dusty in the Netherlands.
It's getting too emotional. Sorry about that. I'll try to finish up quickly and then give the word to Mari. So the idea behind the trust principles, you may know them, is they can be endorsed. This is what we ask you to do. You have some time to do that after today, because maybe you need a chat within your organization about the what and why exactly. We think setting these tiny requirements of endorsing fair and trust is a means to guarantee that we do get the right kinds of members from the start, and not just anyone who wants to join a network within EOSC, but really organizations that focus on trustworthy repositories themselves and are in the process of becoming a more trustworthy repository. When you have questions about this, like Jan said, we have a Q&A session. I'll stop here and pass on the word to Mari.
Thank you, Marianne, and good afternoon, everybody from me as well. I'd like to say a few words about the network membership and the benefits for all of us. So at the moment, key concepts for repositories like trust, repository, or preservation, the definitions are all over the place, all over the world, but especially in the EOSC context where we are building this network. The network will bring together views on what makes a repository trustworthy across several domains and disciplines. It is not set here, but in the slide, but what the network is not going to be, it's not going to be another certification body. We are building and developing on existing standards, criteria, and frameworks. What is new? We are developing this matrix on repository activities and functions and attributes. We call it the FIDELIS TTRAM, or Transparent Trustworthy Repository Attributes Matrix. It uses 29 activities and functions that we have found to be essential, and also in all these existing frameworks, and they are actually relatively constant across all repositories. So things that all repositories do or have to do or should do. In the matrix will help to identify what information you as a repository manager should make transparent about your repository and about the data or digital objects. And we see this as a way to improve and align repository practices. So to provide synergies, find common things. It's not an assessment criteria, and it's not meant to be. We do understand that trust is really context dependent. It's not binary. So there are a lot of variables that have an impact on what on the trustworthiness and what of a repository. So we want to explore this, and that's within the project, of course, but also we want to include all the future network members, the provisional members. We want to hear you. We are here for all the repositories. And in the end, we will hopefully, and I'm pretty confident we will do this, we will have a common understanding of these key concepts in the EOSC context. And we will enable alignment and cooperation, firstly across EOSC in Europe, because that is where our funding comes from. But we are also really open to collaboration also beyond EOSC. We have a workshop forthcoming about the FIDELIS matrix, what it is, how you can use it, what are the benefits for you, and we will go into details in that one. in that workshop, and this workshop will be on June 17th at noon Central European time. So I don't think there's an announcement yet on the website, but it will be there soon. And this is all I have to say. So it's to Lawrence. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lawrence Horton, and I'm talking here in this section about our work in Pillar 4 of FIDELIS, which is led by Micah Verberg at DANS, but we, myself and Joy Davidson from the Digital Creation Centre, are involved in this pillar by leading support opportunities work package in this project. So to my mind, what we're doing is picking up on the U in the trust principles by providing repository people with training and support through mutual learning and peer-to-peer opportunities and engagement. And we also intend to establish some common training programs as a result of this. And the goal, as always, is to improve trustworthiness through fair principles and transparency in repository management. So next slide, please. So the FIDELIS Repository Landscape Survey was recently in the field. Some of you may have responded to it, but this is one group of responses from that survey where respondents were asked to evaluate the importance of aspects of a training program to them. And the arrow there points to the responses for community support, and note the important and very important shares in that response are notably high. So this is something we've seen in other places too. In the Fair Impact project we were involved in. I've also seen it in presentations and testimonies from people working on Core Trust Seal certification as well. And the message is that the data repository world we are in seems to rely a lot on working together to achieve things, and we rely on learning from the experiences of others to inform and guide us in what we do. So this is an important part of what we want to capture in the development and support actions, and ground it in community, in relationships, and in learning from each other and connections. So next slide, please. So this slide shows the high-level support routes we intend to follow, though a lot of the details still to be fixed at this time. There will be financial support available, and we've seen that in other projects. That being able to compensate people's time or provide some income that allows repositories to permit people to take time to work on practices, policies, services, tools, or whatever needs to be done. It's in the realm of trustworthiness. That is something that helps a lot with improving repositories, being able to take people away from their day jobs a little bit to work on this. So looking at the two avenues, it's not just about tools. The tools are, of course, important. So that's why there are technical support topics, themes here. But as many of you are probably aware, and if you're not, you probably soon will be, for a lot of work on repository trustworthiness, it's about policies, processes, documentation, management, organization of a repository and its services, and particularly identifying and working on the gaps, reviewing what you have, addressing and documenting it as well. So that's the other opportunity strand there is repository governance and management. And there's also a proposed mentoring system to link repositories in different states of trustworthiness and get them connected and get them talking to each other and learning from each other. So next slide, please. So I mentioned a survey, and you've seen a little bit of data from it already. The survey is an important contribution to the work that we're doing in Pillar 4. So thank you if you were one of the 159 respondents to that survey. But it's also important to emphasize that the survey is not the only aspect of information that's we're using to go about shaping this as well. So the survey is important, but it's not critical. So next slide, please. So the next steps for us really are to analyze that survey data and define what lessons it has for us, and release an analysis of that later this summer. But also for the training support opportunities, we're looking at what others are doing as well in support activities and what we've also done in the past. So any examples that have worked well for you or not worked very badly for you, interested to hear about those as well. So learning from what works well and what doesn't. And we're also looking to get into the details and definitions and practice support activities, so it's ready for the launch later this year. So that's all I have for Pillar 4.
I was chasing my mouse cursor. Thank you all. So to summarize, the FIDELIS project will establish and consolidate a European network of fair, enabling, trustworthy digital repositories that will live on after the project finishes and represent its member repositories to key stakeholders on important matters. Through the project, we get a good chunk of content for the network, in particular the harmonization and interoperability fostering that Mari talked about, and the capability that Lawrence talked about. We chose very explicitly to launch the network early on, right? So not just run a project for a couple of years and then finish with launching the network, because during the project phase, we have, call it, a comfortable funding situation. So we can supply the network with content through the project, and we can use the project period to figure out a sustainability model, so that once the project ends, we hope to be left with a thriving network with a sufficient membership base to sustain it into the future. That is the background for why the network was launched early on as it was. And there are many details that have to be filled in, which is a great opportunity because it allows the community to co-create the fabric of the network. And we work together with our sister project Eden, so they're more technically oriented. We're the support action. And with that, I think I'm just gonna open up the floor for any questions that you might have. And considering that there are 76 participants, minus approximately 7 to 8 from the organizers, I'm assuming that there's gonna be some questions or feedback. We're using a regular Zoom room, so please raise your hand and open your microphone and voice your question, or type it in the chat if you prefer that. Any questions? Or was our introduction so perfect that we can finish the session right here, right now? I cannot imagine that. Madeleine, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah. Yes, I was looking for the hands. Sorry.
No worries. This also works.
Yeah, I'm used to Teams and now it's Zoom, so sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking about on one hand the network, and on the other hand the project. Are we as a member of the network? How does it relate to involvement in the project, or do you consider the network as the project? Yeah, I'm looking for what is expected from members, network members in for the project. Do you understand what I'm trying to explain?
I understand what you're trying to explain. I'm trying to remember if we have that question on our cheat sheet that we prepared for the session, but I don't think we have. I think it's very simple, right? You're not part of the project, so simple as that. We do have the cascading grants, so if through those you become involved, then that is part of the project fabric. We see the project as supporting and facilitating the network, right? Through the secretariat of the network itself, dealing with the membership, etc., figuring out the governance and the sustainability through the providing interesting content to the network, because a network without anything to do in it is a bit, well, that's like having a telephone system with exactly one subscriber. It's a bit boring. So a part of the content will come from the project. The work that Mari is doing on the harmonization, the work that Lawrence and Joy are doing in terms of training, capability building, support, that comes from the project and is then effectively, if you wish, disseminated through the network as a key channel. And in addition, the network can pick up other topics But that then depends on what the network membership wants, right? If the network membership doesn't come with any topics, nothing happens, no conversation happens. If you do come with interesting topics, then it is our job to figure out, right, how can we best facilitate whatever the members want to do? With a bit of luck, we'll be able to facilitate that. If you ask us, could we please get Rolls Royces for all the members, then the answer is probably going to be, well, that's a bit challenging today. We have 2 topics identified that we figure ought to be of interest. And I think I briefly scanned through the survey results today, and I think I saw at least one of them confirmed. We're figuring that there is probably some interest in network members discussing legal issues in various ways, shapes, and forms. I think I saw intellectual property right pop up a couple of times, and of course, there's always the GDPR. Gut feeling says that also the Data Act and the Public Sector Data Act, that should bring some challenges. The other topic that we're guessing is there is this whole business of the setup of the EOSC Federation, and quite likely a lot of organizations, including the repository part of organizations and repository organizations, are wondering, how do we tackle that? What is our involvement? What should we pay attention to? What is our position in that EOSC Federation thing? And we figure that that might be an interesting topic, but that is just our educated guess. Does that answer your question? Okay. Oh, I'm not paying attention for one moment, and there are all sorts of questions in the chat. Does the FIDELIS project have an ambition to work with the accreditation of data repositories? No. Because we are explicitly not targeting certification. That is the business of others, like the Core Trust Seal. Let's see.
I'll just add that we will collaborate with all kinds of initiatives, including certification bodies.
Yep.
But we are not becoming one.
I'm just going through the chat questions. Research data that complies. Yes, sorry.
Sorry, I was just wanted to continue. There's a question about the TTRAM and if it has been published or shared. No, it hasn't been published or shared yet, but as mentioned, we will have this webinar on 17th of June. It will be announced on our website and newsletters and so on. So that's when you will see the details. So please join that webinar, and the webinar, I guess, will be shared also if you can't join at the moment, but the recording will become available. We have a milestone in September about TTRAM and a deliverable in the end of the year.
See, I'm seeing the question from Ilona Lang. Research data complies with FAIR's principles, not automatically open. What is the weighting of open science in the network? So the reasoning for including supporting the FAIR principles and the trust principles as kind of like a criterion for membership, that was effectively to avoid going down the rabbit hole of exactly what is trustworthy and what is not trustworthy. Because you very quickly end up on the slippery slope of becoming a certification body. And there is the everlasting discussion, exactly what is trustworthy, what is not. And as long as there is no binary definition of that, one that you can easily enforce, it's very difficult to either accept or deny membership based on that. So we decided not to go there, looking at what the network is supposed to do, which we assume is advocacy, bringing people together, bringing organizations together, bringing repositories together to help each other become and stay trustworthy in the most effective way possible. So from that perspective, the main goal of the trust principles and the FAIR principles support was making sure that we have members that support this whole business of open science and FAIR, and B, that we have members that are really into trustworthy repositories. And if we then do happen to get a bad apple for whatever reason, then there will be a governance mechanism to deal with that. So rather than being very precise on who can and cannot be a member, the idea was to be more open about that to be as open as possible about that within the framework of trustworthy repositories, and rather deal with unfortunate situations should they arise, because with a bit of luck they won't. I hope that answers that question. I'm not seeing any raised hands, by the way. Ilona.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe just to dig a little bit into that, but I don't want to go all the way down. Like you said, it's a rabbit hole. It's just that me, for example, I'm coming from a repository that has not open science focus. So it's a protective environment, but still the data inside is fair. So we try to be as fair as possible. That's also on our roadmap to foster open science more, but it's right now not what we are doing. So that's where the question was coming from.
Okay.
You said it's a red flag to join the network, or if it's only if we say, okay, we provide open data, then we can join.
Well, you provide fair data, right?
I try to, yeah.
Yeah, and fair data doesn't necessarily, what was it again? As open as possible, as closed as necessary.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't immediately see this as a red flag.
Okay. Thanks.
No, I will just add that there are several repositories that have digital objects or data that is not open for a reason, and there are many reasons, GDPR being one of them, but also other reasons. So.
Yep. And unfortunately, we're bound to see more of that due to the current political climate. Let's see. And I see that Joy already answered Amela's question. Are there any further questions? Yes, Mateusz.
Yes, hi. Thank you for this introduction. Now, to me, it's not clear at the moment, but maybe that's supposed to be like that, what the network should really be, how this should be realized. Are we talking about, I don't know, common platform where the repositories can be, searched through, or is this just a virtual network of people communicating with each other, or in a way of working groups? What is the idea on the network itself?
I see Marjan unmuting.
Yeah, that is a good question. So for the moment, we're thinking of a virtual network, and we can well imagine that special interest groups arise around certain topics or common technologies. And that is very unspecific, I know, but it really depends also on the interests of the first group of members. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe I can add, I'm leading Pillar 3 in this project, and I didn't want to go into all the details. So this year we are really focusing on the TTRAM and the metrics and this harmonization of certain key concepts. Next year we have tasks about consolidating the requirements, but also facilitating technical federation of repositories. So we are not doing technical development, but we plan to enable this. And for example, we've been discussing about increasing the discoverability of repositories capabilities and services, semantic description of repositories, and various policies and practices for repository federation. But this is all still planning in progress, and that's where we also would appreciate feedback from you and all the repositories. So what kind of policies, for example, or practices you'd like to see, or best practices or recommendations. We do have resources to look at these, and we are also looking at the survey results to see where the gaps are and where to go with these developments. But there are possibilities to go just where the repositories want us to go and what kind of support is needed.
Yeah, adding to that, I think so from a project perspective, where the majority of our resources are coming from to facilitate the network, right? We're a support action, which means that we cannot start setting up operational infrastructures, for example, around federating repositories or something like that. That happens in the federation buildup of EOSC. We can support that. We can support discussions about that. We can support advocacy. There is the work that Mari does. There is the capability building, and we can do a lot with that. We can interact with the sister project Eden that is looking closer at technical aspects of federations, of repositories working together. But obviously, once you have a network, you can evolve it. And strictly speaking, now that we've established the network and we can evolve it, you don't have to limit yourself to what the project does. You can also take it further. But what there are resources for is what is happening in the FIDELIS project or what is happening in the Eden project. If you want more than that, then the big question quite quickly becomes, right, so how would you resource and finance that? But this is an activity aimed for the future, right? And there are many uncertainties at the moment. We don't really know where this EOSC Federation is going to go, what is required, what it means for repositories. But you can take the network in many different directions. But that then depends on the membership. And precisely because we want that discussion happening early on, that's why we launched the network now with all its uncertainties and unclarities.
And if I can add to that again, we are open to different kinds of, let's say, experts representing repositories. So it's not as if, let's say, the repository manager needs to be the contact person in a network. You could consider having a couple of colleagues more or less loosely involved with the network, so that will also allow you to discuss different topics or set different help set different agenda items. That's for you to decide, of course, how much time you can spend on a network. But it's that way we can also, I think, guarantee that potentially a lot of topics will find others who are interested in it.
I see that there was a new question in the chat. How is interaction between members planned to take place? Events, yes. I'm assuming that there will be more info shares like these. We are planning network discussion meetings. I think we are aiming to have a first one in June on the topic of EOSC Federation and repositories. What does that mean? I know that in the project planning, there is a milestone on establishing a forum, but that doesn't happen until early 2026, if memory serves me right. And the first order of business is probably going to be to establish a mailing list. And that was also something I saw coming back in the survey quite often. I saw a hand. Yes.
Yes, this is Juan Gabriel from Fernandez from SOCIP. Maybe you already mentioned, because unfortunately I missed the beginning of the session, but are you planning to interface with the fair sharing initiative?
I have that in my cheat sheet, actually. That is the COAR initiative, isn't it?
No, fair sharing is a registry of all things fair.
Sorry.
Yes, it's
And
kind of registry of many collections ranging from data repositories, data policies, formats, and they are all interlinked.
So I can say we don't have a definite plan yet, but we've been in discussion with Susanna and Alison. So from Fair Sharing from University of Oxford. So and with Elixir people. So I think Fabio is also in the call. So they are in the radar, but no concrete plans. But yes, we've been discussing with them.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, then I guess all questions have been answered. What is the scope? The scope question. For the time being, it will be European. We're funded by EOSC. How that then ends up in the future, that again that depends on the membership. Right, so the network goes where the members want it to go. I think that is the answer to that. I think there's arguments to be made to keep it European, arguments to expand beyond that, but that would be a good discussion to have as network membership, I think.
We can also add that the project has an external advisory board that has representatives from networks and initiatives from all over the world. So we are open to discussions, but at the moment the funding is EOSC funding, so that is something we need to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, and then it also depends probably a bit on how EOSC specific you want to be in the network. The wider the community, the less specific at the end of the day you could be. I think that's it's a complex field. So it depends a bit on where that dynamic is going. Mateusz.
Yes, so to summarize maybe a little bit, and also for my understanding, so the next step would be for the repositories to join, right? To become the provisional member. I guess that's the next step. And then wait for you to reach out, or how is that planned? I already saw that you have another survey open. So this would be good to know what are the next steps planned for the members then.
Yep. As you said, next step is, well, if you haven't already done so, please register as a provisional member of the Fidelis network and influence what's going to happen. We're going to send out some email to the members about next events happening. And as I mentioned, the first one that we're planning that is not directly project related is we hope to have a discussion meeting in June. We're suggesting on the topic of repositories and EOSC, building the EOSC Federation and the implications of that. So that's the current plan, and how it then goes further. Again, that then depends on what the membership wants. We're going to do our bit to try and organize that. And I think we will use email as the primary channel for that, and announcements on the project website. And of course, there is the TTRAM info share happening soon.
June 17th.
Yep, June 17th. And there are bound to be more project events happening in the rest of the year. And of course, if you would like something to happen, then please feel free to drop us an email. And as Marjan points out, we also have a newsletter as a project. As you see, we do have to get our communication channels aligned with the network. Joy.
Yeah, thanks for that. I just wanted to pick up, there was a thread earlier on asking about whether the network members can suggest training topics. And we said, yes, definitely, that would be wonderful. But given that the network platform won't be open until early 2026, what would be the best way for people to suggest topics? Would it be the mail list for now, or starting up a shared document somewhere? So just maybe something for us to consider. But in the short term, if you do have things that you would like training on, we'd love to hear from you. So we'll leave it until that email comes out, I guess, and then we can maybe suggest a way to get in touch.
Yeah, I think the input address is info@fi. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah. Oh. info@Eden Fidelis. There. That in any case will reach us already at this point in time. Okay, I think all the hands have disappeared. All the questions have been answered. I don't see anything new in the chat.
Jan, I see one regarding just for the clarification, the scope of European. Do you mean Europe as in Europe or European Union? I'm just going through the chat again.
Yeah,
So
I saw there was a smiley face behind that.
Indeed.
So I was like, let's I think for all practical purposes, we're always assuming the scope of EOSC, which effectively is all the countries that are either EU or associate to the current innovation program. So at the moment, that's everyone associated to Horizon Europe. Plus, experience shows that you always need to be a little bit flexible with that. Okay, last chance. So let me ask a question then. How does this sound? Does it sound interesting? Does it sound, well, we'll wait and see? Does it sound good? Anyone willing to say something about that? Obviously, we think it's interesting, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this. Yeah, Matthäus?
So to me, it sounds extremely interesting. Already the survey that you provided was extremely interesting, especially in the sense that if many repositories come together, they all have their own experiences and expertises, especially when it comes to domain-specific repositories. And sharing that information and learning from each other is, I think, the best what we can do. So finding specific guidelines on doing specific things is very difficult on the internet. And if someone already did something, that would be a great learning opportunity for the others, I guess. So yeah, I'm on board.
Okay, well, thank you for that. If there is no other feedback, no other comments, and no more questions, then I suggest that we close this info share and give you back 6 minutes of your day. Okay, thank you very much, and see you hopefully soon somewhere in this virtual space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.